Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Life Diaries, sponsored by Joe Dally. Today, we are talking with my dad's friend, Frank. Frank, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Frank, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Frank Abramo. Fortunately, I'm 100 years old, thank God.
We're also here with your son, John. John, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, John, I'll talk to you first. When you first heard that we were going to record this interview with your dad, what were your thoughts?
Oh, I was excited. I think it's a great opportunity for my father to talk about kind of his life story. And, for me, I hear about it every day. But I think the things that will come out of today's session is for future generations. And I'm excited. I have 3 children, and I also have a brother, Thomas Abramo, who has 2 children as well. And I think it'll be good for them to hear my father's story. And I'm excited.
Yeah, great. Well, hopefully you learned something new in our conversation today.
Yeah.
So, Frank, I understand you were born and grew up in Sicily. Is that right?
Yes, I was born in Augusta, Sicily in July of 1924. And I immigrated to the United States with my family. It was my mother, my father, my brother Carmelo, my sister Rose, Tony, and myself. And once we landed in the U.S., we settled into San Francisco in the Italian district called the North Beach District.
Nice.
And that's where I was raised from a child and then on.
How old were you when you immigrated?
When I reached the U.S., I was 4.5 years old.
Gotcha.
And then when I settled in North Beach in San Francisco, I attended kindergarten, grammar school, and from there I went to Francisco Junior High School. And I'll continue by saying I was at the Galileo High School, and then World War II started.
Wow. Was it always your parents' plan to immigrate to the U.S., or did this happen suddenly?
No, prior to me coming to the U.S., my dad, he had come to the U.S. alone because my mom would not leave Sicily. So he would come alone, and consequently, he come and went at least 2 or 3 times. And then when I was 4 years old, he come back in 1929. He told my mother, forget about it, leave the house here. And he took the whole family to the U.S. And from there, we all were what they call derivatives to my dad. He had the presence of mind to become a citizen of the United States. So I was an automatic citizen. Yeah.
So do you think that in hindsight, your mom is happy you guys left, or was she pretty pissed that you guys left Sicily?
My mom was always sad leaving Sicily because she had a nice home there and she was living very, fluently. But my dad says enough is enough, and he forced her to come back to the U.S. Yes.
What do you think your dad was experiencing or feeling that made him push so hard?
My dad, he was very, very stern man. He told me what to do in life and what to become, and enjoy yourself, and be a good family man. Hopefully someday you could raise a family. That was his advice to me.
Gotcha. Did he feel like the U.S. had more opportunity than Sicily, or why do you think he wanted to leave so badly?
Oh, my dad wanted to leave Sicily because he was at Sicily itself. He was a fisherman, and there wasn't much opportunity there being a small fisherman. So he got together with a group of his friends, and they in turn decided to come to Italy. And my mother says, "Well, go," and that's consequently that's what happened. He went to America. He got himself a job at one time in San Francisco. Was a cable factory, and he would send my mom the dollar bills, and she would live very, very, very fluently with the exchange of dollars to the lira. So she didn't mind too badly, but he would come back 2 or 3 times every 3, 4 years.
What do you remember about the trip to the U.S.?
Oh, one interesting point was when we were crossing the Atlantic, my mom took me up on the deck one day and she said, in Italian, she says, "Figlio mio, guardi i pesci che volano," which translated means, "Look at the fish that fly." And that's the only thing I remember about crossing the Atlantic Ocean until we hit Ellis Island.
Was it stressful to immigrate and kind of build a new life, or were you too young to remember?
I was too young. I can't even remember my existence in 4.5 years at Sicily. But I can't remember that far back. No.
What are some of your earliest memories in the U.S.?
Well, my earliest memories is growing up in San Francisco. Of course, it was the Italian settlement, North Beach, and all I know is we had a lot of Italian, Sicilian friends. I had a lot of friends my age, and my schooling started with kindergarten, and then I went to the Garfield Grammar School. And in those days, it was Depression days. We didn't have much money, and my dad he got himself a boat and became a commercial fisherman. And he'd come home with a load of crabs or salmon or albacore, and we lived comfortably. But we talk about Depression days when if you had 6 cents in your pocket, you were rich.
Yeah. Do you remember Christmas or any holidays when you were a kid?
Oh, yes. Christmas was very, very well thought by my mom. And for Christmas, she would hang stockings up by the fireplace in the living room, and we would have oranges, bananas, and apples. That was our gifts from my dad. We had the little 2x4 blocks we used to use as building blocks, but then when we're through with it, my mom would take them and put them in the oven and use it for cooking. And that talk about Depression days.
Yeah, she burned your toys.
She burned, yeah.
Living in a community with a bunch of Italians and Sicilians, were you speaking a lot of English, or were you mostly speaking Italian?
Well, I speak the Sicilian language, but when I went to at home, but when I went to Galileo High School, I took the true Italian courses, so I could speak both the dialects, which was very advantageous to me. But now slowly, I think the Sicily has been unified through all of Italy, so they teach them now the true Toscano language. So I'm very few people like myself can speak the Sicilian language.
Nice.
And my last friend I had was Gus Bono, and he passed away. So there's no one else to speak to in Sicilian. So anyway, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. I know that you settled in San Francisco, but when you first came to the U.S., you were in Ellis Island. What was that process like, immigrating and then traveling to San Francisco?
Well, yes, when we landed on Ellis Island, it was all the immigration port there. We had to go through an inspection. Doctors would inspect each person to see they're physically fit. And for some reason or other, my brother Carmelo had something, a sty in his eye or something, and the doctor says, "Hey," to my dad, "there's something wrong with your son." And my dad right away thought quickly. He says he pulled out a $5 bill. He gave it to the doctor, and he says, "Okay, you got pass." He let him right in. So that was an interesting excursion for me to see that happen. And when I came in, on my birth certificate, it's actually Francesco Abramo. When I came here to the U.S., they changed it to Frank. So I've been going through Frank all my years. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your mom. So you were telling me earlier about the lessons you learned from your dad and how he told you to work hard, have a family someday. What lessons did you learn from your mom?
My mom was she was a homebody. She was, but she was always very, very religious, always advocated that be a good boy and do things right. But she was very, very strict and firm about what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And she was a loving mom, and I love my mom, yes.
It sounds like both your parents were stern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, especially my dad. He's such a hard-working man. He was a fisherman, and every year in June and July, they would go up to Alaska and fish for salmon. And they would make enough money there to last 6 months.
So both of your parents being pretty stern, were you also a stern parent when you had kids?
Well, I was fair with them. You know, I tried to give them something that I didn't have, or I could have had, or should have had. I gave them the advantage, said, be sure you do what you have to do, and I gave them the proper education, and by God, they turned out to be two beautiful children.
John, did you know your grandparents well?
I didn't. I never had the chance to meet my grandfather, my dad's father, Carmelo. But I do remember my earliest memories are visiting Josephine in her home. And yeah, she always spoke Italian with my dad. So we didn't really know what was going on when they met, but
Nice.
yeah, she was always nice. She would give us, little change out of her change purse and candies. And I think my brother and I were so young that we would just run around while my dad and her and my mom would catch up. So yeah, always fond memories, but not the extent of how my kids are with my father. Right. So
Yeah. Do you feel like, having spent time with your grandmother, that you kind of see like the influence she had on your dad's parenting style, or does it feel completely different?
No, it's a lot of the same. I think like my father alluded to before, he, growing up, we were, he was always a father figure, set a good example for me and my brother. Education was always first. Of course, my mom helped out with that too, with homework. Yeah, that was paramount in our house. We couldn't go out and play unless the homework was done, and, good grades were expected. And on the sports side of things, he introduced my brother and I to everything. We grew up being able to play, baseball, basketball, soccer. Never really pushed us super hard. Always, wanted to see where we fit in, which sports we liked, and I think that was that lack of pressure, I guess, from the father made it fun for my brother and I, and we both did, carried on later on with doing sports in high school. So
Nice. What is an aspect of Frank's parenting style that you adopted for yourself?
I would say probably the education piece was, I have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So with the 7-year-old, it's been, homework. So she's starting to get homework now. And that's the one thing where we want to make sure that, they get the proper schooling. It's kind of the fishing pole analogy, right? We want to not just give them the fish, but we want to give them the pole to be able to catch all the fish. And that's what my father did for us. Didn't necessarily give us everything, although he could have. But he did provide for education for us and taught us, how to become our own men and provide for ourselves too. So
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
yeah.
Frank, how would you describe the marriage that your parents had?
Marriage, my mother and father, they were very stern. My dad, of course, he was a very strict person. And when he said something in the household, my mother would listen. He was the master of the house, yes. Very stern man. Very stern, strong man, yes.
Did they seem happy?
As far as I could tell, yes. My youth, yeah, they were happy. My dad would have his own individual quirks, and my mom, of course, she would be she was a great seamstress. She'd sit in the living room and knit away, but they had their good lives together. Yes, I would say very good. Yes, they loving care. My dad loved my mom, of course, the loving care. But again, he was the master. She would do what he said had to be done. No doubt about it. He's a very stern man.
What would your parents do for fun?
Well, of course, in those days, when you talk about Depression days, my dad would would actually he'd take the family and the friends. He'd go down with his boat, and we'd go out on his fishing boat, and we'd go out and sail, motor into the San Francisco Bay there, or fish for salmon or striped bass, and we would have just a good time on his boat. That was his life, as being a commercial fisherman. But then on weekends, my dad would actually, he was a pretty good dresser. I remember him. He would dress up with his suit and tie and shirt, and he smoked what they call these Toscani cigars. It looked like a rope. You could smell them a mile away. And he would leave. He would go in the afternoon and take a walk up by St. Peter and Paul Church. They had a big park there. He'd meet with his friends, and he would associate with his friends. And what he did from then on, I don't know. But that was his recreation.
Nice.
He was a good dresser then.
So let's fast forward to high school. So you said you went to Galileo?
Yeah. Okay. After the grammar school, I went to the Francisco Junior High School. There were 2 years there. And then from there, I went to Galileo High School. Okay, from Galileo High School, I was 17 and a half years old, and then the Pearl Harbor bombing occurred. And I went down, all my friends were my age or a little older. They were starting to join the Navy, the Army, the Marine Corps. And I figured, God, they're all going now, and I want to go too. So I tried to go down and join the Navy. He says, Mr. Abramo, you're 17 and a half, so you have to get your parents' permission. I says, oh, I'll never do that. So anyway, I waited, turned 18 in June of 42. I got my A1 card from the draft board. So I went down and got a release from them. I went down and I joined the Navy. And when I joined the Navy, they sent me up to what they call Farragut, Idaho. This was in January, the cold months of the year. I went to Farragut, Idaho, and there was snow deep to a tall Indian. And I said, wow, I never see snow in my life. But anyway, I got my training there, and we went through the old schooling and whatnot. And they asked me, what would you like to do? I said, I want to get aboard ship. And I want sea duty. So lo and behold, if they didn't say okay, I had some experience from my brother Tony worked at the boat shop. I used to go down and help them, pick up the scrap and watch them building boats. And it's okay. So we're going to assign you to an outfit called the Naval Advanced Base Units. I said, what in the heck is that? and NABU 11 is called. So we got the group of us got together on a train. We went to Southern California to Oxnard or Port Hueneme, California. And Port Hueneme, we were put into these Quonset huts, and right away the Marine come up there, and he started to give us Marine training. I said, God Almighty, I'm in the Navy. What am I doing now in the Marine training? So we got the rifles, and we got all of the headgear, the hand grenades and bayonets and all the marching and all that. Well, the reason for all that was they were teaching us how to defend ourselves when we have the beach landings. I mean, it was more or less like the amphibious corps. That's what we were doing. So after all that training went out, we were shipped out on a troop ship with the Marines. There were Navy people and the Seabees, and we ended up at New Caledonia in Noumea. And from there, we got aboard the LSTs, which is called the landing ship tanks, and the SCVPs was the small landing crafts, which we know how to use. So from there, we landed on Bougainville, one of the islands, and we with the Marines. The Marines were before us. We were behind them, and we landed on the beach. You go through all of the fighting and crawling on the beach. You've seen pictures of them in the movies. I don't want to explain that to you. I used to lose your buddies and whatnot. Anyway, once we get there, we were establishing a naval base, And then with Naval Base, we have more like the communications area and a small PT repair bases. That was our job. And then from there, we spent several months there. Then we jumped over to another island called Nissan Island. We invaded that with the Marines, and we did the same procedure. Anyway, that took about, after 18 months of this fighting out there, they said, Mr. Abramo, you're eligible to go back to the United States. You had your service time here was enough. So I jumped on a small plane and went to the Manus and the Admiralty Islands, and there they were all groups of ships were ready to invade the Philippines. I said, I'm going the other way. So anyway, I got aboard a carrier going back to the United States, and I ended up in San Diego. After San Diego, we're on leave, come back, they told all of us there, said, well, we all have options now. He said, if you want East Coast duty, you'll stay here for a month in San Diego. If you want West Coast duty, we'll have to send you back to the Pacific. I says, well, I'd like to try the East Coast duty, which is what I did. So I said, what's available there? He said, well, there's a school out there. It's called a Ship's Damage Control School. I said, would you like to go? I said, yes. So I was assigned to go to Norfolk, Virginia at the Ship's Damage Control School, at which I went there. So after several months there, they gave me a duty. They sent me down to Charleston, South Carolina, and I went to schooling there. And then from there, I helped commission a brand new destroyer. I said, thank God I'm on the ship. And then we got aboard ship, and we took the ship down by Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We shook her down. If you know the word shook her down, we set off torpedoes. My job was to make sure the ship was intact. And we were heading down towards the Panama Canal because the captain said that we were going to be reassigned to the Pacific Fleet in Northern Pacific again. I says, I'm going back to the Pacific. But as we approached the Panama Canal, the loudspeaker come on one day and said, now hear this, attention all hands, this is your captain. I want to inform you that the Japanese surrendered. Oh God, that everybody's on the 40 millimeter guns, they dropped the depth charges. We were just one happy bunch of people. And that was it. That was it for me in the Navy there. And we took the ship back to Florida, and we went to see St. Augustine in Green Cove Springs. We decommissioned the ship, and then I was eligible to get an honorable discharge. And I went to, I got on a train, I went back to Shoemaker by Dublin here, and I got honorably discharged. That's from there.
Nice. Okay, there's a lot there. So let's back up a little bit. When Pearl Harbor happened, you were aware that you would be fighting against Italy, right?
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
Well, as being an American, even though I was born in Sicily, being American, I always believed in freedom. And I said, the Japanese bomb, I was mad. I was angry. And I said, if I don't want to be able to speak Japanese or German. So I said, I've got to do something. All my friends were going to the service. I says, I want to get in it and fight. Yeah, that was my thought. I was really angry. Yes.
Why were you angry?
Because they did something that was sort of unbelievable. I mean, it was cowardly. I mean, to really bomb Pearl Harbor as so secretively, I didn't like that one bit. That upset me. Yes.
How did your parents feel about you joining the military?
Well, my dad didn't like it. My dad says, let me go. I said, no, Dad, you're too old, for God's sake. He didn't like it, but he says, well, go ahead. He says, buona fortuna. Saying, buona fortuna means good luck. Yeah. Yeah.
within the Italian community in North Beach, were they generally okay with Italians fighting against Italy?
Well, actually, Italy was affiliated with Germany, so a lot of the Italians, they were actually contributing their diamond jewelry to help Mussolini over there at the time. They were very devout Italians, but as a rule, no. I mean, most of the kids that we grew up, they were Americans. We were Americans. We all the freedom. I appreciate freedom.
The Italians didn't have a choice. I mean,
Yeah.
Hitler basically gave Mussolini an ultimatum.
Yeah, appreciate
of course. It was like, we'll destroy you unless.
Gotcha. At what age did you start to identify as an American and not Sicilian?
Oh, at age, I come here 4.5 years old when I went to kindergarten. At age, I'd say age 6 or 7, I started to speak the English language. Yeah. All the schooling I got was in America. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What did your mom say about you joining the Navy?
She didn't like it.
Yeah.
She's very sad. She didn't like the idea of me going out there in the war zone. She prayed for me. She said, son, I pray for you every day. So she didn't like it. No. No, not much so, no.
Were they proud of you for joining?
Oh, yes. Because my mom, after I joined, my brother Tony joined, and she had 2 stars on the window. She had 2 sons in the service. She was proud then. She became a very proud mother. Yes.
Was your brother also in the Navy?
Yes, he was.
Huh.
Tony was in the Navy, yes.
Did you guys see each other abroad?
No. My brother Tony was fortunate. He was a boat builder, so they kept him here. He was more on the station at Treasure Island. And he was quite fortunate. Yeah.
So in that first 18 months when you were deployed, were you in combat?
Yes. If we were combat, we were firing. When you fire a rifle, you fire into the bush. You don't know who you're shooting at, but you see the tracer bullets coming and the planes dropping bombs. And I told you before, you've seen movies about the Marines, how they land. We were right behind them. And then they would keep going forward, and then we would set up a camp there. But the Marines, you got to give them a lot of credit, by God.
So once you get deployed, you head over to the Solomon Islands and you start fighting the Japanese. Is that correct?
Correct.
Cool. What were you doing?
Well, actually, to start with, you land on a beach. You try to invade. You invade the beach. Once you make the beach, you crawl up on the beach and you make your way up more inland as you advance. And as you advance to a certain point, you're there sleeping at night, and you're sleeping in hammocks or on your sleeping bag. Or then as we got further into the island, we set up tents, and I was certainly, when I slept in my tent, I had my bayonet alongside each side. You had to go to bed, So you don't know when the Japanese would come in, unexpected or not. But then the Marines would push them back to a point where we would actually be able to do some building. Yes.
Gotcha. What's the closest you came to dying?
Well, the closest I came to dying was when I landed on the beach, right behind the Marines. Yeah, I see them drop around me, get wounded, get killed. That was the closest I came to dying. Then I crawled into a bush and start firing away from there. And you don't know what you're firing at. It's hard to explain to people, who do you shoot at? You've seen tracer bullets coming around. You may have hit somebody, you may have not, There's the machine gun fire. There's the mortars. I don't know. That's not enough of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see a Japanese soldier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You see them laying around. See them running back in the field.
Yeah. Gotcha. But you never like saw one that you were fighting with, like up close.
No.
Okay. No. So when you're on that beach, are you scared? Are you excited? What do you feel?
I've been asked that questions all the time. It says, "Yeah, you're damn right. I was scared." You got to be a liar if you weren't scared. Even at 18 years old, you say you gotta kill or be killed. You're scared. Yes.
Do you feel like the training prepared you well? Or
that's what it was all about down at Port Hueneme. Yes, the Marine training. Yes.
And you feel that was helpful?
Yeah, very helpful. The Navy up in Farragut were mostly Navy training, Navy signaling and discipline and marching. But down at Fort Hueneme was more Marine training. Yes.
When you're on that beach, did a lot of the other Navy men die, or what were the casualties like?
Well, yeah, there were casualties. I mean, not more Marines than our Navy people. They were laying around, they just wounded and killed. And I couldn't say how many, but there were many. So I told God, thank you, God. I got through this unwounded, and I'm alive. That was the main part.
Did you know when you would be leaving, or did you just go there and you were just there until someone told you to leave?
No, we just knew we knew we had to go from one island to another. And as we progressing up towards New Guinea, and then we had our time in, and I said, I knew after 18 months, most people were going home after that. That was enough. And that's when I went back.
Yeah. When it was like month 15, 16, 17, and you're getting close to going home, were you more nervous about fighting?
Yeah, I was wondering, when's the next island? I said, what, am I going to survive from the next island? I says, I don't know. But then, thank God, it ended there.
How many islands did you take?
Two islands. We invaded 2 islands.
What was your impression of the Japanese soldiers?
What do I think about them?
Yeah,
they're out to kill you. I mean, you're out. They will not surrender. You had to kill them. That's all it's to it. Their attitude was to kill the Americans, and that's what it was all about. And we invaded the islands and said, "Hey, you better fight for this because we're going to die," and that's what happened.
Yeah. So after you got discharged, what did you do?
Well, when I got discharged, I laid around for about a week or 2 or 3. And my father finally says, "Okay, son, you've had a hard time out there." I said, "Yeah, Dad, you've done this, you've done that." He says, "What are you gonna do now?" I says, "I don't know." He says, "Well," he said, "Well, get off your butt and do something." He said, "You either go to work or go to school." So anyway, I went to the Heels Engineering College, and I went through what they call the GI Bill educational bill at college. So I started off in architecture, but then friends of mine were mechanical, so I ended up as a mechanical engineering. So when I got through with the Heels, my first employment was with the Naval Radiological Defense Lab. It was located at Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. And there I was, the main function of the lab was to find out ways to decontaminate radiation, different kind of radiated products, and also to design equipment to detect the thermal part of the nuclear blast or the radiation aspects. And we designed. My job was to design equipment to sense this. And I actually went to Nevada one time, and I set up. There was a 100-foot tower, and there was a 25 kiloton bomb set up on there. If you know what a kiloton, that's 25,000 tons of TNT. And I had a camera station about several about 50 yards away, taking pictures of what transpired of all the testing equipment we had around there. Anyway, after the blast, I suited up, I jumped in a helicopter, and I flew over ground zero, and I told the pilot, "Where's ground?" He said, "It's gone." And believe me, there was nothing there but a few scraps of metal. So I looked over my camera station, and I looked at the culvert. It was twisted. I jumped out to get, he says, and the pilot says, "Hey, listen, the radiation level is too high. Come back in here." So we had the dosimeters, and by golly, I had what they call those, four Rinkins, which is all I was allowed. And I had to get back in. I couldn't get my camera. I went back, and it got washed down. And I had the experience of seeing those atomic bombs go off there.
So you were trying to repair the radiation, is that right?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, there are different different what do you call detection units that we design. They bring in the thermal part. They record the not only the thermal but also the pressure and how much radiation has been put on these products. Mm-hmm. And then we try to find out, how do you decontaminate all this nuclear waste? That was a big job of the lab. And then later on in 1958, I was sent out to Eniwetok, which is in the Pacific Ocean. Jason Island was a bikini, but the Eniwetok, it's a big atoll, and they had one big bomb set to go off underwater. It was going to be a 1.3 megaton bomb. 1.3 megaton. So anyway, we were about 10 miles away, and we were suited up with the glasses and everything, and we saw that bomb go off. It just pulled up a plume of water you couldn't believe. It sucked up the whole lagoon. Then the big fireball occurred, and then you could see, all of a sudden you get the thermal. You feel the heat after 10 miles away. You're not too bad with that. If you're within 5 miles, you'd be crisp. So, and then you get the power, the pressure, and then you see the fireball up in the air. It's just so huge, and you say, "God, we got to stop this, because this is going to annihilate the world."
Yeah.
If you drop this size bomb in the Bay Area, it would wipe out the whole Bay Area. So that's I witnessed that bomb go off. And it's always in my mind. That was a great experience.
Yeah, I can imagine seeing that bomb and feeling scared for the world.
Yeah. Anyway, that from then, and then the lab closed down after 20 years. I was there for 20 years. The lab closed down. Oh, in between that time, I married my first wife. Her name was Betty, and she had a daughter named Sharon. And we continued on. And when the lab closed, I went to work right next door to the shipyard, which was in the Naval Weapons Department. And there, what did I know about ships? Then I got into the weapons department, and I did all of the engineering work on the carriers. I reconverted the bomb elevator to a weapons elevator on both the Ranger and the Coral Sea. And then people say, "How'd you learn this?" I says, "I learned by looking at blueprints prior to that, and I studied and find out how to do this." And that was my job there. Anyway, from there, my poor wife, she died of cancer, unfortunately. And I went to work at the U.S. Assay Office. I got a position there. And the U.S. Assay Office is the new mint up on, if you're aware of it, Upper Market by Dubose. And there they were designing what they call the 6-coin proof sets. And I got involved in the designing the sets. and so forth and so on. And there I had a friend of mine. His name was Andy, and he knew I was widowed. And Andy, one day, he said, Frank, he says, I have my wife is a school teacher, and she has a friend of hers. She's 36 years old, a nice blonde young woman. He said, would you like to meet her? And I said, well, okay, give me your phone number. And that's what I got her phone number. I called her name was Laura Lee. I called her. I said, I'm a friend of Andy Berto. I says, I would like to, like to meet you and see how we could really get along. So we met, and by God, we got along good. And that's what happened. We got married. We got married after I knew her about 4 or 5 months or 6 months. How long was it? 6, 7 months. Anyway, I got married, and then that's when I had my son John, and then I had my son Tommy. And okay, so that at the Mint, I became 55 years old, and I had 33 years of service, government service. So I said, I better take a retirement. So I took the early retirement. So I came home. These kids were, I think John was born, and Tommy wasn't.
Yeah, 55. I would have been what, 3, and Tommy would have been.
Because I took you to the Mint at one time.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were at the Mint with you. So yeah, Tommy was maybe 2, and I was maybe 4, something like that.
So yeah, then I took to the Mint, and then from the Mint there, yeah, I later on I did some golfing, and then one day my brother Tony at the time he transferred from the Rad Lab to the what they call the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center down in Palo Alto. Mm-hmm. And he says, Frank, he says, you can't let your experience go to waste. He says, I've got a friend of mine, the chief engineer in the Klystron department at Stanford. He says, you want to meet him? I said, okay, Tony. So I went there and I took the test. They liked my experience and they liked who I was. And I got hired there. And I ended up what they call the Klystron department. Now, most people don't know what I'm talking about when I say a Klystron. A Klystron is a microwave amplifier. If you were to drive down 280, you see all these sheds along the freeway for 2 miles long. Those are Klystrons sitting there. But 30 feet below is the actual accelerator. It goes 2 miles. It's a 3/4 inch tube. It goes all the way up, encased in magnets. I don't want to go through the physics of this here. But what happens is the Klystron feeds the speed to the particles, which call it the electron and positron particles in this tube, and it feeds the speed almost the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. And as it goes down to the end of 2 miles, the positron electrons are split and they collide. And that's where you find the muons, the muons, the quarks, the God particle. And I says, oh my God, this is subatomic particles. Everything is made of particles, as we know. So one day I went to the physicist, I said, Dr. Gore, I said, what's the benefit of all these here subatomic particles? And he looked at me, he says, Mr. Abramo says, we're trying to find the universe, the origin of the universe. I said, thank you. I'll see you later. And that was it there, yeah.
That was great. I want to go back to some of the experiences you were talking about earlier. So you were saying when you were at the radiology lab.
NRDL.
Yeah.
You call it NRDL, yeah.
Yeah, that's while working there, you met Betty.
Yes.
Is that right? How did you guys meet?
Well, we got introduced there somehow, and she was one time we dated. She was a good dancer. I liked to dance. We got together. And we enjoyed each other. Yes, yes.
Yeah. What did you like about her?
Well, she was she was all woman. She was all loving, very loving. She treated me as a devoted mate. You couldn't ask for a better mate at the time. No, very loving.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 27 years old.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
First wife, yeah. The second time I was 50.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So big gap.
I got John and Tom, 50.
Nice. What are you like to be married to?
Oh yeah, that's I was a good husband. I mean, I love my wives. Yeah, I miss both of them. God, I missed the first one. I miss her very much because she had certain qualities and enjoyment that I know and love. And my second wife, she was very devoted, loving, and she was very religious person and took care of her family. She raised my two boys just beautifully. Yes. Couldn't say enough about her.
Tell me about your second wife, Laura.
She was from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and she came out here after she graduated from the Catholic University back to Wisconsin with a group of women her age. They came back here to San Francisco, and I never know why they left Wisconsin, but then that's where I met her.
What lessons did you learn from Laura?
Well, from Laura, I learned that to be a very religious person, to be a good husband, and to be sure that we raise our children. We always very, very, very critical about our children's education and bringing up. She loved children. That's her life was having children. And that's, as a matter of fact, when I first married her, I was age 49, and she said, "If we get married, I want children." I'm saying, God, at the time, I said, 50 years old, I have to work till I'm 90 years old, So, and I consented. But from then on, she knew she wanted children the day she got married. Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Why do you think you guys got along?
Well, hey, how could I answer that question? Why we got along? She was the main thing. We had our own individual tastes, which I like, and I was able to do what I wanted to do, and she did what she wanted to do. But we both enjoyed, as the years went by, we enjoyed taking us cruise ships. We enjoyed that, to be together there. That we really united there, very much so. So we liked what we liked to do. We liked our individuality. Either one.
So when you had John, were you at that point pretty happy that Laura Lee pushed to have kids?
Oh yeah, when I first got John, I mean, here I am, 50 years old, and I've got a young baby. I said, God, thank you, God. I said, I'm going to cherish this guy. Yes, very happy.
Did you feel like you were born to be a dad, or that you would have been okay not having kids?
Well, I guess being where I was raised and how I was raised, yes, I figured someday I'd be a dad. Yes, I look forward to it. Yes, yeah. The question is yes.
Yeah. What did your parents think of Laura Lee?
Well, because my dad died. My mother loved Laura Lee. They got along very well. They're very, very well. Yes, even though my mother spoke sort of broken English, but they got along. And she liked it, especially when they bring home the children.
Yeah,
for grandchildren for her.
Yeah, grandchildren are important.
Yeah, my mother always used to say, take care of me both. She said, take care of your grandchildren. She said, take care of your children, Frank. He says, take care of them. I said, okay, Mom.
So as an adult, what was your relationship like with your brother, Tony?
Oh, my brother, Tony. Oh, sorry, my brother, Tony. He was my mentor. Tony got me into, he got me into the Naval Rad Lab. He got me into Stanford. He was actually my mentor. My Tony was always looked after me as my older brother. He was, because my dad died. My dad died in 1950. So my brother Tony kind of took over. I love my brother. And my sister Rose, she was always there to help me also. And I get one interesting tell you too. I told you I had my brother Carmelo, right? Mm-hmm. We immigrated. Well, my brother Carmelo come over with us, of course, and he wasn't educated, because in those days, the Depression, everybody had to go to work when they were 13 years old. So my brother Carmelo worked at the produce in one of the markets, and for some reason or other, he contacted a lung problem, and lo and behold, at the very end, it had to be tuberculosis, because he was sent down to the Hassler Health Center in San Carlos, and one day we had a freak snowstorm here, and the kid, my brother, went out and he caught cold. He started to cough up blood, and I sad to say this, but he died. He was 20 years old.
Wow.
My brother Carmelo. That was the saddest day of my life there. I lost my brother Carmelo.
Yeah. Were you back in the U.S. at that time?
Yeah, we were here. Yes, we were here. Yes. We were living in North Beach at the time. Yes.
Man, that's crazy to lose your brother when he's 20.
He was so young, because, looking at the rest of the family. Anyway, that's.
Yeah. And stuff. What was your relationship like with Rose as an adult?
She would communicate with me with emails when I was out in the islands. She was my main communication. I would write to her. She would tell me what my mom thinks and what was happening. She was my main communicator. Yes, Rose, and she got married, and they moved down to Vegetation Valley, and we got together there for dinners. Once every week or once every 2 weeks, you go down and have the family dinners. One thing I have to say about living in North Beach, when we first got here, we would always have the big family dinners. I mean, talk about the cousins and aunts. They'll come up, and my mother would make the big family dinners. You're talking about, the antipasto, the salad, the raviolis, and then the meat. And then, of course, the panettone. So every Sunday we would have big dinners there at our house, yes. Family get-together.
Nice. So I want to talk about your career a little bit. You've had some pretty impressive jobs, working at the Rad Lab and outfitting aircraft carriers, and then working at the Linear Accelerator. Stanford
was the most exciting to me, Stanford.
Yeah.
Because I met physicists from throughout the world, because there was only one bigger experimental lab. It's called the CERN Switzerland, which is in Switzerland and in France. It's 7 miles in circumference, and it's a cyclotron. The particles sped in opposite directions. Anyway, that was CERN. That's where they found the God particle. That's as low as you can find the basic particle there is on Earth. But at Stanford, I met a lot of physicists and chemists and engineers, and it was just such an exciting place to be working.
Yeah.
I mean, just so interesting. You're not talking about magnets. You're talking about microwaves, klystrons. You talk about detection devices, sensors, how they manufacture this equipment. That was, to me, was very interesting, yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
So when you were at Stanford, what was one of the more interesting problems you worked on solving?
Well, we were working on these, as I said before, we were working on klystrons. The klystrons is a unit, it's about, and more of the microwave amplifiers. and we're trying to get something bigger or more powerful, and we're developing with the physicists were trying to develop more greater ones. That was my interesting part. Try to find something bigger.
Yeah,
and that was very challenging. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like in science, there's this constant battle between the physicists who have a theoretical idea and the engineers who have to build it. So
Well, the physicist think of what we should be doing, but the engineer actually develops it.
yeah.
The physicist knows what they think what they want. Technology that they had, and the way they think about things, and the way they express themselves is different in engineering. You had to put it together.
Yeah.
Even a simple thing like designing a magnet, and the magnet is made up of all discs, and then you have to have electrical source go through it. Plus you have to cool it. I mean, that was all design jobs. Yes.
Yeah. I'm curious. So at the time, the belief was that using microwave radiation was the best way to accelerate particles, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you also believe that, or did you think there might be a better way?
No. When you think of microwave, a microwave, when you could actually speed something to almost the speed of light, as I mentioned before, it's 186,000 miles per second. You're not going to get any greater than that. That's like going to hit in 1 second. You hit a light to the moon and back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
That to me is the fastest you're ever going to see things.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, but I feel like the problem with microwave technology is you have to do so much on the cooling side. Right?
Yes.
So I feel like, yeah. Did you ever think that maybe there's a different way that doesn't require as much cooling?
Well, no. Now they're more the laser. The laser's coming in lieu of parallel to microwaves.
Yeah.
The laser technology is coming in now, which I'm not too familiar with right now.
Yeah. So lasers where we are now.
Yeah.
It doesn't require.
The thing is lasers. Yes.
It doesn't require as much cooling, which is nice. So at Stanford, were you aware that you were working with like some of the smartest people in the world?
Oh yeah, you're talking about brilliant people.
Yeah.
I mean, these people win laureates awards. They win the actual physics awards. Oh yeah, you got brain people down there.
Yeah. Did you feel like
top people?
Did you feel like you were one of them, or did you feel like they were way smarter than you? Or
I just felt part of the engineering staff. I felt people who developed this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
They were a plateau ahead of us, as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. Well, the theoretical people, maybe.
The physicists, they had a different thought of life. They had a different way of thinking.
Yeah. Did you want to be like them, or did you like being on the engineering?
No, I didn't want to be a physicist, no.
Okay. You're happy on the engineering side?
I was happy being my level I was, yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. What is the accomplishment from there that you're most proud of?
Well, they actually developed the electron microscope, which was an offshoot from the development of the lab there. Mm-hmm. And also some of the radiation, which the sidewind from the radiation developed, they use this for some of the cancer development. Mm-hmm. They did that too.
Yeah.
That was the side steps of the lab there.
Yeah. Did you know when you were there that the technology might be used for other things?
I have awareness. Yeah, I had awareness of what was transpiring. Yes. Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Do you feel like the quality of people at Stanford was better than the quality of people at the rad lab?
Yes. Yes. At the Naval Radiological Defense Lab, they were more or less like trying to find ways of decontaminating or or the values of radiation, different types of radiation, and things of that aspect. But what the SLAC, which is Stanford Linear, they were more. I'd say the level above that. They were. How can I express myself by saying that they were the level way above most people think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those people are insane.
Very, very, very brilliant people. Very brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very cool project to be a part of.
Yeah,
yeah. So after Stanford, did you retire?
Actually, what transpired there? Let me give you an interesting subject. When I learned if you're a permanent employee at Stanford, kids can go to Stanford after 5 years, and you have children 18 years of age and ready to go to school, I said that we would give that student 1/2 of Stanford's tuition.
Mm.
And I said, wow. So that encouraged me. That gave me incentive to keep going, to keep working. Yeah, I was getting up in age then. So, and by golly, I approached my son, John and Tom. I said, you want to go to Stanford? And they said, Dad, we don't feel qualified. But so but fortunately, they both ended up at UC Santa Barbara, both graduated from there. And then Stanford helped pay for all of their education. And so I worked at Stanford till I was 72 years old. And then I figured, well, I have to take the required minimum distribution in my salary and all this. I said, I better get out of here. So that was enough for me. So then from then on, I started to play some golf, yes. At the Elks Club, I met a lot of friends, and I got together every couple of days. We played different golf courses, and that's why I enjoyed my life now mostly at the Elks Club. I'm a 64-year member at the Elks Club.
Wow.
Boy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer.
Yeah. So was retiring hard for you? Like, were you bored or did you enjoy it?
No, I was relieved. After retiring, I was relieved. I felt, I had time to spend more time with my boys, and I had more time to travel, with Lori and I. We did more traveling then. We got together with her sister and brother-in-law, and we cruised all over the world. That's I enjoyed.
Yeah, big cruise guy.
I loved those cruises. We saw most of the world, yes.
Huh, nice.
Yes.
John, I have some questions for you.
Sure.
So for most of your childhood, your dad was working at Stanford.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Did you have like an awareness that he's on like a super team?
We would go to Stanford once a year. What I remember, we would go to the San Jose State Stanford football game. And it was a big tailgate. And that gave my brother and I the opportunity to meet the folks that he worked with. As far as what he did at work, I knew he was a director. He had folks underneath him. I knew he was a mechanical engineer, but I think at that age, we didn't understand what high energy physics was. We didn't, we just knew that he had a position at Stanford, and he worked in the big 2-mile long shack that's under the 280. So we didn't really have a concept of what really went on there. I think we were too young. Yeah.
Was Frank like arrogant about it? Like, I'm a big deal, or was he quiet about it?
No, my dad's always been humble. I mean, he's never boasted, and he always let his actions speak. I think, for the most part, we didn't really realize. We knew Stanford, obviously, even at a young age, the name Stanford resonates, right? Mm-hmm. With academics but yeah, so we didn't, he was never, I work at Stanford, and so we just, we knew that was his job.
Gotcha. Crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
They both got summer jobs there.
Oh, you got them summer jobs at Slack?
That's right, yeah.
Whoa.
That's right. Yeah, when I came home from school, my freshman year, sophomore, every year during college, you got to go to work. Just like my father's father told him. He said, "You're not sitting around. You're going to work." So he was able to get us some jobs at the end stations where we would, do various tasks and helping out. But I got to have lunch with my dad every day, which was really, really cool. But we were mostly in the yard doing, pulling cables and cutting loose pipes and that type of thing. So it was a couple good summers there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy, man. So Frank, question for you. While you're working at Stanford, you're also raising your kids. Was it difficult learning how to be a dad?
No, I kind of enjoyed it after a while. I used to play with these kids and come home. We play backyard. I'd play baseball with them. I would get my tennis racket, hit the ball, teach them how to catch a baseball. Mm-hmm. And we did a lot of things together. No, I enjoyed it. We enjoyed raising my kids. No, it was nice. Yes. Mm. It was pleasure. It was a pleasure for me by my old age, I never, to be truthful, I never felt my age at that time.
Yeah.
Never felt my age because to me, age was just a number. And as long as you have your health, it's just a number. I went on living nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say you do not act like a 100-year-old man. So I think that is fair. Do you feel like having kids later in life helped to keep you young?
Yes. I think God knows where I'd have been by now if I didn't have the young children. But I love my two boys. I mean, to me, that's what keeps me alive. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
They're just two devoted kids, and I love them dearly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, statistically speaking, having kids at 50, it was probably unlikely you would live to meet your grandkids. But you've gotten to meet 5 of them.
Listen, at age 50, I was very doubtful about having any children. At that time, I said, "Hey, here I am. I have a good income coming in. I was 50 years old. I could do whatever I want to do." I says, "Hey, geez, I'm going to be tied down for another 30 years." I was very apprehensive.
Yeah,
but after it happened, it changed.
Yeah.
It was very, very thoughtful. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think it was more natural for you to be a good father or a good husband?
Well, how could I answer that? I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. Either you want to, I can be both. I try to be good to both.
Yeah. Did they both feel pretty natural?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It wasn't like a difficult learning.
No, it wasn't difficult for me. No, once I had my children, I started raising them. I enjoyed them. And that was very natural. Yes.
What kind of a parent are you?
What kind of a parent am I?
Yeah.
You ask my kids. I think I'm a good parent. I've been very, very good to them. We all have a loving care of each other. That's about it.
How do you feel like your role as a parent is very different or very similar to your role as a grandparent?
No, well, yes, I love my grandchildren, but the trouble is I don't see enough of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were with me every day and night. My grandchildren, I see them every sporadically, and I love them when I see them. Yes. I love them as grandchildren. Yes.
Do you feel that it's your responsibility to teach lessons to your grandkids?
Yes. Yes. Whenever I can, I try to teach them, love, discipline, faithfulness, and then love your parents. I always try to practice love. Yes.
Nice. Of your 2 sons, which one was easier to raise, or which one was more difficult?
Which one was more difficult? That's a hard question. I think
probably me.
Probably John was more difficult. He had a more stern mind. you had to be more stern with him. Yeah. But all in all, the two boys, I tried to teach them how to use tools. I mean, every chance there was to teach them how to do something, I would teach both of them. Yeah. Because you had to be your head, your hands, and your body to do things. Nothing comes easy, I tried to tell them,
Yeah. All about that hard work.
Always have hard work, yes. Just remember what your dad told you. Don't smoke and don't try to get alcohol or use any kind of drugs. Told him that.
Yeah. John, have you followed that?
I mean, the alcohol piece, no.
Alcohol.
Everything else, we're pretty straight on, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll discuss your acid usage outside of the show. It sounds like you are pretty happy with the life you lived.
Oh, I'm content. I figure here I'm over 100 years old, and I look at my son John and Tom and my grandkids, and I look up to the heavens and say, thank you, God, for giving me the main thing is thank you, God, for my health. Mm-hmm. I'm still here to enjoy all this.
Yeah.
That is very, 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 very important. Yeah, yes.
So one thing that I think about a lot is, I would like to live for a long time. And I am aware that if I do end up living for a long time, many of my friends and family will die before me. I imagine you have experienced that.
Oh, I feel sad. I've been losing friends younger than me. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. What is it like to constantly have people dying around you?
It's sad. I miss them. I've been losing lately my good friends that come up and drive me here, talk to me. And actually, of all the friends that I recently had within the last, say, 50 years, I'm about the only one left.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's sad.
Yeah. How do you feel about your own death?
If I were to die right now, I feel like, thank you, God, I've had my life. I felt blessed. And I feel like content. I feel as if this is the way it is, I've had it,
Yeah.
I feel very, very peaceful about it. The main thing is I say, don't let me suffer. If I'm going to die, let me die right now in bed.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's anything you have left to do or anything more you want to accomplish before you leave?
Well, I would like to see my grandkids grow. That'd be a great pleasure. Mm-hmm. See my grandkids get a little older. But other than that, no, I live my life. I do what I want to do. I tell people, I'm 100. I do what I want to do. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think most importantly, like, you're 100, but like you're still physically able to do the things you want to do.
I'm fortunate I have my health. That's very important.
Yeah. I feel like
very important.
Too often, like, the last 5, 10, 15 years of people's lives is spent not living the life they want to live. So you are very fortunate.
Yes.
What are your plans for the next 100 years?
Well, I just enjoy what I'm doing now. I have, as I said before, I have many friends at the Elks Club, and matter of fact, I just signed up for the Bocce League in March, so that's going to be a big enjoyment for me. And my two boys and grandkids, I take Uber to John's house in Danville, and I spent the weekend with them. And I enjoy their company. We do things, and I enjoy my house here. I'm still able to walk upstairs and downstairs. So, what can I ask? I said, thank you, God, and then let it go with that.
Yeah. I'm curious. Do you feel like you are a different person from when you were 95?
Do I feel like I'm a different person?
Yeah,
Yes, I feel more thoughtful as to the days when it's going to end. I figure, hey, how long can you live? I always think about you don't know, so and I don't want to worry about it. But yes, I think about I don't know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Like, do you feel that the way you look at the world today is different from 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Oh yeah, the world is just completely. I mean, the electronics and the technology today. I've got my iPhone. I'm trying to figure out what to do. My son is telling do this, do that. But even engineering, I look at these iPhones. I remember the days when I was just in my teens. And I remember the program was with Dick Tracy. He spoke to his wristwatch. And now, by golly, you got them in your pocket. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is the greatest advantage in the world. Mm-hmm. To me, that's mind-boggling. And I've seen all this. Just think of it, all those years. I've seen many, many changes. As a matter of fact, during my schooling, I was on my summer vacation, and my dad said, I talk about Alaska. My dad said, I lost my partner, and he asked my brother Tony, would you like him to be in Alaska for 6 weeks? My brother Tony said, no, ask Frank. So my father asked me, so I was in my 20s, yeah. He says, son, you want to go up to Alaska with me, show you what I've been doing all my life? I said, sure, Dad. Anyway, I can continue. So we signed up with a cannery company in Oregon, and we took the train we flew a plane to Seattle, and from Seattle we took a small plane into what they call a Naknek River, or Naknek Lake. Naknek was up there in Bristol Bay, Alaska. Mm-hmm. And listen to this. In Bristol Bay, Alaska, this is in the mid 40s, or anyway, I went up there, and the first thing you do is you issued a boat. The boat is about 30 feet long, and you had to put a mast with a sail. You had to put a rudder and a centerboard, and no motors. And I said, "You did this, Dad?" Yeah. I said, "You watch, son, what I had to do for a living, So we would go down there, we get 2 nets. The nets were gill nets. They were 10 feet deep. They had a lead line, and a cork line is 100 feet long. That catch the salmon. So, okay, what do we do? You got all outfitted. So one day, and you couldn't fish on Wednesdays or Saturdays. So we got in the boat there. We raised the sail, and we had 2 big oars too. And I said, God, my dad did this all his life. And so we sailed out of Naknek River into Bristol Bay. We would drop the nets, and about 100 feet long. And all of a sudden, the salmon would come up to spawn, to go up the rivers. And then all of a sudden, after about an hour or so, my dad says, okay, let's bring it in. And you had to grab the net. I had my gloves on, I had my boots on. And remember, in Alaska, they got a 25-foot tide. Mm-hmm. And if you were to fall overboard, forget about it.
Yeah, you're done.
You've had it. So anyway, you grab the net with the roller back, you pull up the salmon, and they're hitting you in the face. You get them all tangled. They're all gilled. And then when you had a big pile, you put the other net out working. Well, that net's working. You ungill the other ones, and put them aside. And I'm telling you, you talk about hard work. And I'm going, wow. Anyway, to make a long story short, when you get through with this, you would take the boat and raise the mast up, and you sail into the barge, And at the barge, you say, Dad, how do you unload all these fish? You got about 200-300 fish here, 500 fish. He said, here's a stick with a prong at the end. He said, stab them and throw them up. So he had to stab the fish and throw them up about 8 feet, and there'd be men up there tallying each fish. And now each fish weighed between 5 and 8 pounds, the salmon. And each fish, we would get 25 cents a fish.
Wow.
Back then, 25 cents a fish, the salmon. And we made enough money there to last my dad for 6 months, you know. But I said, hey, I'll continue my schooling, Dad. He said, yeah. He says, okay, you know what I did, Dad? Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned anyway what he did for a living.
Yeah.
That to me was a great inspiration, you know. That to me was a thought of my father, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand. And for 6 weeks, it's mostly just the two of you hanging out, right?
Six weeks. The season was 6 weeks, yes. Yeah. Now it's everything's motorized. I've seen pictures of it now. It's a different story.
Yeah.
But then he had the sail. I said, the sail? God, what are you doing here? And when it was calm, you put the oars on. You had to row in Bristol Bay. And because you got Bristol Bay, then you have the Bering Sea. The Bering Sea was one that got very rough. Mm-hmm. You don't go out there. It was the Bering Sea inside of Bristol. There was some of the rivers are called Igigak, Nushagak, all Russian names. Because, you know, we had from Alaska there. And when you caught the salmon, the cannery was right there, and they actually cooked the salmon and they canned them right there, right in there.
Yeah.
Because you had to bring in the fish every day. You know, it's all fresh salmon. Anyway, that was one of my side stories of my dad. Dad and I, we got along pretty good.
Did you learn anything about your dad on that trip?
Oh yeah, he was a very stern man. You know, he told me what to do, what not to do, and he told me where to go and where not to go. He's a very loving dad. Very.
Lots of instructions.
Very good dad.
Nice.
Good Sicilian father. Siciliano. Yeah.
Do you think if your dad saw the life you lived, do you think he would be proud of you?
I think he would be very proud of me. Yes, he would be. He died at the age of 78. No, 68. He was, to me, as a young man, he died.
Yeah.
Compared to me.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you had died when you were 68. How much life you would have missed out on. Now that you're 100, you have 2 kids, you have 5 grandkids. In 20 years, when your family listens to this, what advice do you have for them?
Well, the advice I have my children, John and Tom, I says, you know, I'm going to help you live pretty luxuriously, I says, but be sure you take care of your children, make sure you give them what I gave you. I said, and teach them the qualities that I gave you. Always remember love and faithfulness. And I said, but most people I tell when I give talk to young groups of people, I say, listen, this is America. Just remember one thing, that your grandparents and your great-grandparents died in this country to make all of us free. I tell the young people, I says, but freedom is not free. I says, always remember them because you have the advantage to go to school, to be what you want to be, pursue it. Don't take drugs, don't smoke or drink alcohol. I says, but do what you want to do and be sure to know that you're freedom. And remember the freedom in this country. I said, that is my assurance in this country. That's the advice I give to young people.
Nice. What advice would you give to Tom specifically?
To Tom? The same advice I give to John: take care of your family, be loving. Make sure that they're on the right track, and show them what is right and wrong through your own actions. What you do, they're going to learn. That's my advice then.
Nice. When you think about your future generations, what do you hope for them?
Well, I hope the best for them. I hope that they all be able to get the proper education, and they actually develop what they want to be, as I professed before. Be what you want to be. Pursue it. This is what I hope they all attain those goals. Yes. Because I want to be, I want the name to Abramo to be fluent, because most times the people, you say you're a Sicilian, and in the old days, the Northern Italian looked at a Sicilian as a low beat, as a downtrodden. But nowadays, we're all educated. We show the Northern Italians that we're just as good as they are. So that's...
I'll let Romano know that.
Yeah. I know because, just a little statistics. In 1863, Garibaldi unified all of Italy. He took Italy, Sicily, and Sardinia, and made all of Italy. And that's why before that there were Sicilians, Sardinians. So now we're all Italians. But I still say I'm a Siciliano.
Yeah, pride. How do you want your grandkids to remember you?
I want them to remember me as a loving. They call me nonno in Italian. They know me as nonno. I said, make sure they know me as nonno, and I love them, and to treat me as I would treat them. Yes, that's what I wish for them.
Nice. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what it was like being married to Lauralee. Do you have like a funny story or anecdote about something you guys would bicker over, or kind of what it was like day to day for the two of you?
Well, Laurie, my deceased wife, she was a smoker, and one of the things that really bugged me is she wouldn't quit, and that's what happened most of her life. Was she had COPD from that, but she would smoke. But I said, if you smoke, Laurie, you have to go outside. She didn't like, and I made her smoke outside. But one day, here's give a little lecture. One day, I took a pack of cigarettes she had, and I threw them in the garbage. So she violently come around the house. She said, "Have you seen my cigarettes?" I said, "No." He says, "I had them over here." I said, "No." Oh my God! She said, "If you threw my cigarettes away," she says, "I'm going to divorce you." So I says, I better not do this again. But yeah, she had a bad habit of smoking. Yes, that was bad.
What is a story about her that shows who she is as a person?
Laurie's a very devoted mother. I mean, I could say she was so devoted, and plus a very, very strict Catholic. She's a very religious person, and took care of her kids, her two boys. Like, you couldn't ask for a better mother. She would teach them. She was a teacher herself, so she would teach them and what to do, what not to do, all her homework and whatnot. She was an excellent mother. Rolly was a very good mother. Yes.
That's great. You guys have anything else?
Good. No, that's good, Dad.
Cool.
Good job.
Well, I think we'll wrap here. Frank, thank you so much for doing this and being a part of this episode. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I was glad to do this because, as I say, after 100 years, what more could I expect? That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
God only knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. John, also, thank you to you for being here and being a part of the conversation.
No, thank you to you guys. We really appreciate this. And
yeah. All right, Frank, why don't you close us out, buddy?
My full name is Frank Giuseppe Abramo. And I'm glad to say I'm still here at 100. And I say arrivederci, goodbye.